Hey, so this will be the wrap-up video. The project was a lot of fun. Um, yeah, of course, it's always a pain in the ass having to fit everything into student schedule and go from there. But getting to talk about different media industries. Well, for me, my hip hop and comic book related properties, because those are both things I'm extremely passionate about and always have been. And getting to explore the economic side and getting to think about that so much more. Um, because I've been like with hip hop, it's always involved with the business side as well. If you're into the news or if you're a fan and you're following the artists, um, yeah, and seeing the independent nature of hip hop and the record industry that goes with it, as I got to speak about in a few of my in some of the videos. And then on the comic book side, being involved in the business with that already, being a collector, um, yeah, it was really interesting to think about it in certain ways. Um, yeah, if I could do it again, I would have been more diligent. Um, but that's just the way it is. It was always, yeah, a lot of fun to get to consider different media industries, especially looking at the gray market, because I'm actively involved in that. My interests are actively involved in that. Um, yeah, and if I had to do it again, I'd probably wouldn't be too much I would change. Right now, I'm actually working on. Might as well add this for my fourth year history class. It's history of American radio and television. So I'm currently looking at essentially where animation has how we got to this point. SpongeBob's sort of the big bookend from the 1960s to now when animation really starts to dominate on television. You have things like Looney Tunes going to syndication, um, which were originally the theater shorts. It was really interesting to see where Disney, and we think of them so much being influential for animation, but at the time it was, you had Warner Bros. And Hanna-Barbera going on television. Um, Disney was much more focused on their films, their animated films, your Pinocchios, your Alice in Wonderland, Dumbos, things like that. Of course, The Jungle Book was the last thing Walt Disney worked on, basically, until he died. It came out a year after. Um, it was really interesting to see just, there really aren't actually a lot of Disney cartoons that get produced. It basically stops mid 50s and restarts in the 1980s for the shorts for, your Mickey Mouses, Donald Ducks, and things like that. And even on the Looney Tunes side, it only goes up to about 1964 for Warner Bros. Studios to produce stuff. And then for a couple of years after, you get more Roadrunner cartoons. But there's really not a whole lot considering how popular these brands got. Saturday morning cartoons, of course, when you only had 3 channels, it was quite limited on who would be able to get on and how much content you could show. So Hanna-Barbera and Warner Bros. Got to dominate on the TV side basically until the 1980s, and then we start to see some more shifts. More of the science fiction fantasy stuff starts to come on. And then with the heavy merchandising to toys in the 1980s, you have free trade open up. You have Reagan with deregulation, so what could be shown for children's television really opened up. That's why you start to have that heavy marketing towards kids through things like Transformers, G.I. Joe. And from there, that lasts for a bit in the era of deregulation. Then people start to realize you need to change it a little bit, and then you also have more money coming in through cable television. So as where those G.I. Joe, Transformers, where those commercial properties, they start to not be the focus, and it's really Nickelodeon that changes it and starts to really, because they were able to be successful through advertising dollars brought in by cable television, put on content that was more appealing to kids. And the big one, of course, is Ren and Stimpy. It's the one that became the top kids show when it came out, and it was also popular among a wide variety of people, especially college university students. And from there, after John Kay gets booted off the show by Nickelodeon because controversial content and wasn't producing fast enough, you no longer have access to Spumco Studios. And from there, Nickelodeon has to open up their own studio and that's where Rocko's Modern Life and eventually leads to SpongeBob. And of course, SpongeBob is probably one of the most dominant kids properties. A few years ago, especially, you could have said SpongeBob is #1. Of course, it changes and ebbs and flows, but that's basically where it's at. It's been really interesting to track. Yeah, following the money throughout it and the access to content, things like that, and marketing to children, and how that's basically grown through cartoons. So it's been a lot of fun. So yeah, that project, I probably wouldn't be doing it in that way except for having this class. It's been great. Anyway, have a good one, and it's been a great time. Bye bye.